Good evening, and I certainly hope that most of you watched Monday Night Football last night. You know, here I thought that the New York Jets, especially after the very first play, the very first play of the new season for the New York Jets, the quarterback threw an interception that ended up in a touchdown, a pick six, his very first play. And then I figured that's it. I might as well just go to sleep while I watch the rest of the season. And then they turn around and they whooped the Detroit Lions 48-17. They absolutely, totally dominated. So maybe for the first time in almost 50 years, the Jets are going to have a team that's actually worth watching. So, with that commentary out of the way, good evening. The Dolores County Broadcasting Network presents the DCTV 4-H Evening News Program for Tuesday, September 11th. And again, today is a 9/11. It's a day for remembering what happened on 9/11 to this country. So, and to thank all the people who were involved and all the first responders and, of course, to all those who lost loved ones. So, and with that, we have our camera person, who is Devin Harrison. Our video engineer and producer is Edward. Sound engineer is Dan. Teleprompter and prompter is Myra. With news anchor Daniel and Sativa, and meteorologist Hannah. And this is news director Dan. And now the news.
Welcome to the DCTV 4-H Kids Evening News Show. Help us keep our kids' news show on the air by becoming sponsored by a sponsorship. Just call 970-677-4119. That's 970-677-4119. Now to the news. This is from the Denver Post. It's that time of year. Mother bear and her two cubs forced Boulder Elementary School to go on lockout. Students at a Boulder Elementary School were placed on lockout Monday afternoon after a black bear and her cubs wandered through the area, according to the school district. Officials at Flatirons Elementary in Southwest Boulder released students at the regular dismissal time. Wildlife officials kept an eye on a nearby black bear and her two cubs. Boulder Valley School District spokesman Randy Barber said, "From the students' perspective, it was a pretty normal day," he said. After school programs continued as scheduled, Boulder Animal Control received a call about the bears at 10 a.m. Monday. Colorado Parks and Wildlife Jason Clay said the bear and the cubs then climbed a tree where they have remained all day under the watch of wildlife officials, he said. Officials hope the bears will then return to a more remote area and don't plan to relocate them. The bears don't cause any trouble near the school and were likely in the area looking for an abundant fruit on trees and bushes this time of year, Clay said. Students at University Hill Elementary were also placed on lockout briefly, but the security precaution was lifted after police failed to find bears during a search of the area, according to the school district. Bears near Boulder school campuses are pretty typical this time of year, Barber said. Honestly, it's going to happen quite a bit in the coming weeks, he said. As fall begins, bears are eating up 20,000 calories a day to prepare for winter hibernation, Clay said. They're going to go anywhere they can find food, he said. It is that time of year. This story is from the Durango Herald. Durango and Silverton Railroad caused the 419 fire. The amount of dry material which had not been cut in years near where the fire started and the crew's lack of experience and inadequate equipment caused the fire to spread beyond control. The lawsuit alleges plaintiffs assert the fire mitigation techniques that like removing dead and dying foliage Following the coal train with a diesel-powered water tanker, employing more diesel engines during the dry summer months, or replacing the coal-powered train with diesel engines altogether were not used by the company. All those alleged missteps caused a fire that plaintiffs said caused a 5.6% drop in sales tax and a 13.2% in lodgers tax in June this year in Durango compared to 2017. Plaintiffs also say the lawsuit that their homes and businesses were damaged by the mudslides that followed 4/16 fire or the adverse economic impacts. Fire crews were unable to put out the fire because they were insufficiently trained by the defendant and or because the firefighting equipment provided on the pop car whose wholly insufficient to appropriately respond to the fire. Attorneys wrote in the lawsuit, the amount of dry material which had not been cut in years near where the fire started and the crew's lack of experience and inadequate equipment caused the fire to spread beyond the control. The lawsuit alleges plaintiffs assert the fire mitigation techniques like removing dead and dying foliage. Scientists may have wildly underestimated the giant dinosaurs of the ancient world. Don't worry about those big dead herbivore dinos. Their leafy meals were likely much more hearty, wholesome, and nutrient-packed than researchers thought, and there may have been way more of them than researchers once believed. The conventional wisdom about the big plant-eating dinosaurs like Brachiosaurus and Argentinosaurus is that they had to eat huge amounts of leaves all day to grow to their massive sizes. Scientists came to that conclusion in part because the sorts of plants available millions of years ago were nutritionally poor, in part because they believed the high levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere would have deceased the nutritional value of those plants. But a new paper published July 11th in the journal Paleontology suggests that this idea might be wrong. The researchers grew plants under super high CO2 levels like those found in the Mesozoic era 252 million years ago to 666 million years ago, including the Cretaceous, Jurassic, and Triassic periods. During that, the vegetation lives in similar levels of nutrition to those of modern plants. 25 amazing ancient beasts. The leaves' nutritional value testing by fermenting them and studying the gas produced as a byproduct of that process was marginally lower on the average in higher CO2 environments, but not significantly so. The study found, and some plants didn't become less nutritious at all. That in turn means the plants of the era could have sustained a larger population of plants eating dinosaurs than previously believed. The researchers wrote the large body size of sauropods at that time would suggest they needed huge quantities of energy to sustain them. Fiona Gill, a paleontologist of the University of Leeds in the United Kingdom, who led the research, said in a statement, when the available food source had high nutrition and energy levels, it means less food needs to be consumed to provide sufficient energy, which in turn can affect population size and density, which is to say hardier leaves would have meant more food to go around that could have led to 20% more giant leaf-eating dinosaurs roaming the land than previously thought, the researchers wrote. Remember the following paragraph. They seem to be saying to take this with a grain of salt. However, the study can't say for sure that plants from hundreds of millions of years ago were as nutritious as today's plants, the researcher said. First of all, the scientists don't know whether the specific species they studied ranged from ferns to redwoods were around during the Mesozoic era. Instead, researchers pick the varieties based on their similarities to plants found in the fossil record from that era. Second, the plants were grown in a range of indoor chambers where CO2 could be regulated, not a Mesozoic ecosystem. Third, the CO2 concentrations tested 400 parts per million, 800 ppm, 1200 ppm, and 2000 ppm represent a range from modern CO2 levels to a higher estimates of Mesozoic CO2. They are not a precise replica of the concentration from the period, the researchers said. The study may be bad news for a different group of ancient leaf eaters, while the cell walls of the plants which are important for large herbivores like dinosaurs, remain largely unchanged in different CO2 environments. The cells themselves were somewhat different. These researchers found that the leaves in high CO2 environments were lower in nitrogen, a substance important to leaf-eating insects. Tiny herbivores of the Mesozoic may have struggled to consume enough nutrition and thus may have constrained populations. However, researchers wrote that data wasn't firm enough to produce definitive conclusions. This story is from the Journal.
A Legacy Foundation of Southwest Colorado has opened its annual grant cycle for another year. It closes October 15th. The foundation, in operation for 17 years, helps investors easily and safely make donations to funds that provide income for nonprofits. Relations Director Nikki Crowley said in a press release. In 2017, Onward awarded grants to 12 regional nonprofits, including the Four Corners Community Band, School Community Youth Collaborative, Mancus, Food Share Hospice of Montezuma, Willow Nature Preserve, and Education Center. Mancus Public Library, Dove Creek Recreation, Durango Cowboy Gathering, United Search and Rescue of Montezuma County, Montezuma Public Health, Dolores River Boating Adventure Advocates, and San Juan Mountains Association. Short-term, maximum 1 year grants of $500 to $3,000 will be dispersed this cycle. Grant documents and information will be available at onwardfoundation.org. Dumb laws in Alaska. Moose may not be viewed from a airplane. While it is legal to shoot bears waking a sleep bear for the purpose of taking a photograph is prohibited. It is considered an offense to push a live moose out of a moving airplane. In Anchorage, In Anchorage, no one may tie their pet dog to the roof of a car. For all you would-be pranksters out there, it is illegal to string a wire across any road. Persons may not live in a trailer as it is being hauled across the city. In Fairbanks, it is considered an offense to feed a lot alcoholic beverages to a moose. In Haines, a person may only carry a concealed slingshot if that person has received the appropriate license. Employees of bars may not let their bartenders serve while they are drunk themselves. In Juneau, owners of flamingos may not let their pet into barber shops. Buildings that preserve scenic, visitative are awarded bonus points by the government. Now here is our weather report with Anna.
Our current weather data comes from the DCTV weather station located in the beautiful downtown Dove Creek. The current temperature is 84 degrees. The high for today was 86 degrees. The low was 58 degrees. The Hanna Banana meter is at 29.59 inches and is falling. The humidity is at 17%. Wind is between 1 and 8 miles per hour from the northwest. Gusts have been up to 25 miles per hour. There was 0.00 of an inch of rain measured today by the DCTV weather station. Moisture for the month is 65/100 of an inch. Moisture accumulation for the year is 4 and 85/100. Now for the big map, courtesy of the National Weather Service. We have 6 lows in the Pacific Northwest and one over the U.S. and one over the eastern Great Lakes. And there is rain across the north of the country from Washington into North Dakota. A small band of rain runs from New Mexico into Minnesota, from the tip of Texas running along the Gulf Coast and up the Atlantic coast into Maine. Is getting everything wet. The area between the rain bands is clear. Here is our exclusive DCTV 5-day forecast. Wednesday, sunny, 82, high 52. Thursday, sunny, high 81, low 51. Friday, sunny, high 81, low 53. Saturday, mostly sunny, high 82, low 54. Sunday, mostly sunny, high 82, low 53. Now for a climate change report. Okay, to become a sponsor, call 970-677-4119. That's 970-677-4119. Thank you. Now back to our news director.
And that's the end of today's DCTV 4-H Evening News Mess. And this is News Director Daniel Fernandez saying good night and thank you for watching.